So in 80/20 planning, one of the most important things that we deal with, which we don't talk about, which nobody ever talks about, is this process called getting complete. So again, when I first started this work, I was doing this only on an annual basis. And I'm embarrassed to say how many years I only did it on an annual basis. But the neat thing about it is that my quality of life kept improving. And then I started learning more and more about the 80/20 rule and trajectory thinking. And I was like, oh my goodness, why am I not applying this to my entire life? As in not just once a year, but maybe 4 times a year, which we call quarterly, or maybe 12 times a year, which we call monthly. And so looking at the opportunity to increase the frequency of doing this one principle was probably the biggest motivation of all for creating 80/20 planning, which runs annually on the education and planning component, but weekly on the implementation, which, for 4 years was the thing that was missing for me. And so this process, which isn't really a secret, it's just nobody ever wants to do this, is known as getting complete. And the idea behind it is really about scraping off the barnacles. I'm not a boater, I'm not a sailor, but I've been in the water enough to understand what a bit of friction can do. Snow, well, that happens to be frozen water, actually, but having a good base on your skis is the same thing, right? You just want that smoothness. You want the ability to apply the craft to the environment. And so in terms of moving smoothly through life, getting complete is one of the biggest effects that you can have. And so we have this process that we run for half the day on the annual program. It is the whole morning, right? It must be something important if it's 50% of what we do. And so we run that on a monthly and a quarterly basis. And then inside of the community that we built and the accountability, doing that weekly, even getting to the point where if you need to, daily application of this keeps that good contact with the environment and helps you smoothly move through life. And so what our process is 4 steps. They're super clear and they help you grapple with pieces of the past that may still be clinging to you. You first identify them, and then you go through a very clean and simple process how to essentially cleanse yourself of them, separate your relationship from them, and most importantly, energetically unplug so that you're not leaking your personal energy into these areas of your life that, to be completely clear with you, are absolutely 100% in the past. I can see the timer here, right? Like everything I've said in the last 4 minutes and however many seconds is in the past. And honestly, if I'm still putting any of my attention on it, it's taking away from me being present and creating any sort of a future. And so getting complete is so viable, it's so energizing, and I think that's part of the reason for it. It's so heavily resisted by human beings that I could talk for another few minutes easily about how important it is. Instead of that, I recommend that you just show up and you participate in it and feel the difference it makes for yourself.